thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this series, and also thank you to the Corey initiative for funding this project. This actually was one of the round one projects from back in 2019, and the reasons why I'm presenting now will become apparent as we go along. This project also received some additional funding from the Melbourne Disability Institute as well. So I'd like to start off by first introducing the team, and we had, as is the way with most Corey projects, it was a very interdisciplinary team. So there was myself from the Faculty of Fine Arts and Music, and Melissa Rain from the Faculty of Arts, and Susan Hayward from Melbourne School of Social and Political Sciences. So together we brought together quite diverse perspectives around working with autistic young people and reconsidering how music might be beneficial or of use to them. So in our team, we had both autistic and disabled researchers. All of us had very personal connections to the autistic community, loved ones, friends, people close to us. Some of us were therapy providers for the autistic community, and some of us through our research have been advocating for autistic people to have more opportunities for participation in work and community. So we're very committed to this group of people. And so we did have an agenda with going into this project. And the first one was around reconsidering how we view disability in the Australian community. Some of you might be familiar with the medical model understanding of disability, which really places the problem on the person with the disability, thinking about fixing them, looking at where impairments are and deficits. But there's another way to view disability, and that's a social model understanding. And this model says that, well, you may have an impairment, but how disabled you are is about how well society is set up for you. And so the barriers that people with disability face are really located in society. So we took that lens with us into this project. And so we weren't offering a therapy program. We were looking at music as a way to support wellbeing. So when we think about the social model of disability, particularly for autistic people, quite a common way of understanding this has come out by an autistic researcher, Damien Milton, who proposes this double empathy problem. And that means that two people who are coming from very different experiences of life might struggle to empathise with one another, and therefore we're liable to misinterpret each other. So if we think about an autistic person, they might struggle to read between the lines, overcome other people's misconceptions of autism, and manage their sensory distractions. And a non-autistic person might struggle to form positive first impressions of people with disability, recognise and understand autism, and empathise with autistic sensory experiences. So in this model, the responsibilities for how we relate to each other don't just sit with the autistic person. And when we misunderstand each other, there are many fallouts. And I just will put a content warning for this slide, particularly if you're an autistic person or know autistic people. Some of these stats are quite distressing. So we know that community social activities that are accessible to a diverse range of people are actually scarce. There's not many things in the community that many people can participate in equally. Many autistic people report feeling socially isolated, and this is a recent Australian report, Australian data, that when an environment is inaccessible, this actually creates substantial anxiety and exhaustion for the autistic person. And that, of course, then leads people to avoid social interactions, leading to more isolation. Some autistic people try to camouflage their traits. This is becoming a very well understood term now. That's an attempt to fit in and not appear to be autistic. But this camouflaging obviously has consequences, probably of shame and internalised stigma. And indeed, 60% of autistic people in Australia experience anxiety, and nearly 50% experience depression. And these are well understood to be significant wellbeing factors, and it won't surprise you then to know that the risk of death by suicide is actually much higher for people who are on the autism spectrum. This study from Sweden reported that it's 7 times as high. So this is a serious issue and really goes beyond trying to think about improving social skills or improving communication for autistic people. So our project wanted to take the therapeutic understanding and benefits of music and re-examine it, rethink about how we might use music for well-being, and to really think about whether an autism-friendly, community-based music-making set of workshops could strengthen social networks and therefore contribute to better well-being and quality of life. And in doing so, we wanted to identify those elements of the community music making that successfully fostered this sense of social connection and well-being. So the project was designed in 2 small studies. The first study where we surveyed young autistic people aged 18 to 25 in Victoria to find out what they would want from music workshops in the community. And then following on from that, study 2 was to design such workshops to meet the needs that were identified in the survey. So I'm going to take you very quickly through our findings from both projects. So study 1, which is the survey. So part of the survey questions were asking around their reasons for wanting to attend. Would you attend some music workshops in the community and why would you attend them? We had 30 responses from autistic people aged 18 to 25. I was hoping for more. This was rolled out just at the start of the pandemic or just before. I think we went into lockdown at very early 2020. And I also thought that more young people would fill it in. But in actual fact, the people who filled it in were autistic musicians. And looking back now, that probably shouldn't be surprising that a survey about music was attractive to musicians. So that was also some learning. So what these autistic musos wanted from music workshops was to continue to develop their music skills, and they wanted opportunities for socialising. So they rated these things as a little bit important or very important, to have fun with music, learn more music skills, and then to go out to make new friends and to meet new people. Their preferred activities, well, this was obviously a group of people who loved music and were very open to anything musical that we might offer them. So you can see very high rates of saying, yes, we would like to try listening to music, playing instruments, recording and production skills, teamwork skills, singing songs, songwriting. Perhaps the ones that were slightly less preferable, only 70% and 65%, were around performance skills. And we asked them if they would like any non-music activities such as art, drawing, movement, dance, that kind of thing. No, we just would like music, thank you. We also asked them what would help them to participate and come to these workshops. And here we have a range of environmental and interpersonal types of factors identified. So having quiet breakout spaces, social spaces, so opportunity for food and getting free time to get to know each other. And then things about access. They wanted written instructions, clear verbal instructions, attention to the noise levels. So perhaps here we're getting an indication of things that might have been barriers to participating in other community music activities that were already available. And we also did some interviews with a small subset of the survey participants, and we had some free text options in the survey as well. So of the qualitative themes, this is what stood out from the survey. First, it was important to this group to create a friendly and socially safe atmosphere. Don't treat us like we're mentally handicapped, said one person. And a safe space is where you can speak out without things being judged and things like that. They wanted us to accommodate their sensory sensitivities, having a private room, because I sometimes get stimming attacks and you don't want people around for that sometimes. And so a lot of your time, your options are to run to the bathroom or have everyone witness what's going on. And perhaps having a dedicated room where you can just go and do that, it would be really good. And really interesting, they wanted clear social cues from workshop leaders. The facilitator should smile. That's probably a weird thing to say, but I tend to read people too much to kind of gauge how they're like feeling and whether they're going to be an approachable person. So if they look as friendly as possible, that's probably going to start everything off pretty well. So we took these beautiful findings into study 2 to design the workshops for the people that we were working with. We rolled out recruitment and we had 13 participants aged between 18 to 21. And we set this up so that we had a series of 5 workshops. And with 13 people, we felt that was too much for one group. And certainly the survey responses also indicated that participants wanted smaller group sizes. So we created 2 smaller groups. And then lockdowns happened of various kinds in Melbourne. Group 1 commenced in early May. We got 3 in-person workshops in, and then we had 2 online. Then lockdowns ended and we thought, great, we'll go with group 2. And then the same thing happened. It was that atrocious time in Melbourne where we had lockdown 4, 5 and 6 in very close succession, and none of us really knew what was going on. Coincidentally, group 2 also got 3 in-person workshops and 2 online workshops. So at least they were somewhat comparable in terms of data. So our findings, we had quantitative measures where we were measuring social connectedness, wellbeing, group inclusion, and we had some feasibility questions as well, researcher designed questions to ask, what was it like to fill in these types of surveys about your experience? How easy or difficult was it for you? Those types of things. And we did qualitative interviews where we asked about their most and least preferred activities, their social experiences with group members and the workshop leaders, and of course, open questions. Within the workshops themselves, we did a variety of music activities, song sharing and singing, vocal exercises. These were really popular. People shared the songs that they loved and we sang them together, and that was lots of fun. The group wrote a song called Lockdown 4.0. I wake up, it's Groundhog Day, press conference, another delay. You get the idea. We did jamming and recreating music. We had a band arrangement of We Will Rock You. And we did music listening with drawing and word puzzles as well. So in our quantitative data, the summary of our pilot findings, remembering that we had a very small sample size here and we were really testing out a few of our ideas in this seed funding. So on the quantitative data, we did get a positive change in social connectedness. And we got a lovely strong group inclusion outcome where people on the quantitative measures felt like they were a member of the group and that they could be their authentic selves. Overall, however, wellbeing did not improve. And we think that that was likely very much impacted by the COVID lockdown. But of course, we're not sure. The qualitative data, we did interviews with all of these beautiful young people, and the interviews were as accessible as possible. People could type their responses in, they could have a support person with them. We did our best to collect as much data from people as we could. So from the key findings to share with you are indeed related to feeling welcome and belonging in the group. They felt comfortable to be themselves. You could see the themes there. Being myself, felt I could be open. One participant said it was a very open environment, and in turn, I felt open myself. Our workshop leaders, informed, of course, by the survey data, which really helped. So people agreed that the workshop leaders fostered a supportive atmosphere. They gave clear instructions, there was freedom, people were friendly and helpful, they were genuine. This was really important, and it was safe to talk about feelings. Being inclusive with everyone there and all that sort of stuff, I guess it sort of allowed me to be more myself, said one person. And one respondent, but that's what I love about qualitative data, is that you can also highlight the voice of just one person. One person said they really wanted autistic people in the future to be in leadership roles, that they felt the facilitator should have been an autistic person and they wanted to relate to an autistic group leader. So where to from here? Well, in this pilot seed funding project, we found that music making together can foster a positive social atmosphere when the conditions are right. So our results are promising, but of course a larger data set is needed, and perhaps the measurement tools were okay. We would be looking to increase involvement from autistic musicians in any future workshops. And in trying to create truly inclusive social opportunities in the community, we'd be looking to really dig into this notion of, can a shared interest in music promote empathy and understanding between autistic and non-autistic people? That's where I would love to take this next. But facilitators need to be aware that you need strategies in place to increase safety, reciprocal empathy and understanding between autistic and non-autistic people. And I have some references to share and can pass those on for you as well.
I wake up, it's Groundhog Day. Press conference, another delay. Dan and ScoMo, meeting on Zoom. And it's going oh so slow. Wednesdays feel like Saturdays, Mondays feel like Sundays. Absolutely nothing's changed. What day